We got nothing. $100 million. We got nothing. We don't even have another Babette. I will settle for another Babette. We didn't even
You
get
gotta
that.
let me finish the point. But at the end of the day, it's about bringing ideas into the mainstream
What
of the
ideas? What
political
ideas did
process.
Clive Palmer bring this election into the mainstream that wasn't there before?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I love you, Babette. I love you, but you
I'll tell you this.
berated all of us. It's your turn.
All right. Well, look. At the end of the day, I'll give you a great example of what Clive Palmer himself has managed to do over the last few years.
No,
Back in
no,
2009.
no. This election, the 100 million, the division he caused in this election. What did he
Well,
achieve
I
for
would argue.
$100 million?
I would say that there was no division because at the end of the day, it's a party's job to bring different ideas into the mainstream, and Clive has done that. And a great idea that he
You're
brought
not
forward.
Trumpets or Patriots. You don't have to defend them. You're
I'm,
UAP.
I know
They
that, but
brought absolute division
no,
into
they
the.
didn't.
Oh,
They really
come
didn't.
on.
They really didn't. I really think that one of the great things that Clive does, and the Trumpeter Patriots has done this time around, is bring to the forefront of people's minds that there are other options other than the two-party system. That is very, very important.
And how did
Because
that work out? What did we get? What did we get for that?
well, look, ideas like this take a long time. You have to remember we've had a two-party system for almost as long as this country has.
We got
existed.
nothing. We got nothing. $100 million. We got nothing. We don't even have another Babette. I will settle for another Babette. We didn't even
You
get
gotta
that.
let me finish the point without cutting it off. People like Clive Palmer are very, very important in the political landscape. Okay,
Agreed.
they will help us eventually help the people at home that are on the fence that don't really understand how politics works. Because you have to remember, in this audience that we're in right now, we're in an audience of diehards. We're in an audience of political tragics. But normies at home don't really understand that there is more options than the two political parties out there. They just think either Labor or Liberal, and that's all they'll ever do. The time that he spends and the effort that he puts in is important. He's laying the groundwork for one day, for eventually, when the masses have had enough of this political duopoly that we have now, they will eventually say, hang on a sec, there are more options in a two-party system. And he has planted that seed right now for that flourishing to happen later. So you've got to give Clive Palmer a credit for that. You've got to give him credit. You may not like him. Some may not like him. They might think that
No, you got it wrong. I kind of like him. And I think he's a funny, he's funny. He does stuff. He goes, you know what? You know what I appreciate him for is he goes to court. He backs cases. He does that kind of stuff, right? That's trying to achieve something. But in this case, you want to tell me that he laid any groundwork for anything? No, he did not.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
no, he did not. The numbers don't show anyone voted more. Trumpets and Patriots didn't do anything.
Hang on. Stop. Hang on a sec. Now, I'm not Trumpets and Patriots. I'm United Australia Party. But I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example of what he's done. He's been very, very strong against the whole net zero fiasco. Now, let me remind you guys, not that you need to be reminded, but both Labor and Liberals support net zero wholeheartedly. They both love it. He's been the only person to come out and say net zero is garbage. It means
One Nation, Libertarians, or every freedom group has said net zero is rubbish.
A second. Think about this for 1 second. Clive Palmer is a billionaire. When you become
he could have put his money in them.
Wait 1 sec, Avi. When you become a billionaire, you would think, oh, you've got FU money. You're going to keep, you can do whatever you like. But that's not the case at all. When you become a billionaire, as the billionaires that I know, all they want to do is protect their wealth. They want to do everything they do, go with the flow and make sure that nothing gets in the way of them making more money. Clive Palmer is the only billionaire in Australia that I can think of right now that have said, yes, I've got all this money, but you think he's got FU money, but no, he has a lot to lose. And he's put his money where his mouth is in defense of this country. Like his advertising, don't like his advertising, like his policies, don't like his policies. It doesn't mean shit. What you need to understand is that this man loves this country and he's willing to invest that money in defense of the country, when all the other billionaires and multimillionaires are more than happy to be quiet and do what the government says and sit in a corner and be good little boys or girls just so they can protect their net worth. Clive said, no, I care about my country more. I'm a self-made man and I want to protect my nation. You can argue with me and everyone else that his methods, that we didn't like his methods, we didn't like his ads, fine. But you cannot argue with his heart, and you cannot argue with the fact that he loves Australia and he bleeds red, white, and blue.
I'm not arguing that. I'm literally not arguing that. I believe that. I believe that. But
can I just throw a couple of things in there, guys, that are sort of rock solid? The fact of the matter is, a text went out by the Trumpeter Patriots saying a vote for One Nation is a vote for the Liberal Party. Don't be fooled. It's no nation.
Exactly.
And there was also videos backing that same theme. And finally, the Trumpeter Patriots, the way that they ended up preferencing in the Senate in Tasmania, it was Trumpeter Patriots, one, Jackie Lambie Network, Libertarians, Liberal, Labor, Citizens Party. And I know you guys put out a statement saying that it was like we were hacked, but it's still up there now. It was never changed. And it's like One Nation was the only party that could have won a spot for the Freedom Parties in Tassie to kick Lambie out. And like, I love you, Babbitt. Is exactly what Avi said. I love you, man. But like, what is Clive doing? And this is why a lot of people say that he's like controlled opposition, which I don't think he is.
I don't think he's controlled opposition. I think he's a self-interest. He loves his face on billboards. Like, he wants to control
Yeah, but this is the problem. How many grains of sand make a heap? And that's why we get frustrated, because we look at this and look, Avi's Jewish. I'm a WOG. We know how far we can get on a small budget. And so we see 100 mil spent and we don't see much coming out of it. And we're like, how does this equation make sense? So it's just a lot of people, this is what goes through their head.
Well, if you want like nitty-gritty detail, I don't know. You've got to speak to Clive directly. I can't answer for that. But the only thing I can answer is where his heart is, and his heart's in the right place, and he loves his country. That I do know for sure. His methods,
look, I think
we can argue about all day long, but if you want nitty-gritty, you got to speak to him.
I think Trumpeter Patriots obviously struggled a little bit with the name, just from the comments that I've seen generally. But in a way, perhaps, the Trumpeter Patriots existing and Clive Palmer being there takes the focus off some of the other parties as well in terms of people attacking them. So a lot of social media attacks against the Conservative side was actually directed towards Trumpeter Patriots. The spam messages, a lot of the coverage, a lot of the negative coverage that might have been directed towards One Nation, perhaps, in the past, was directed towards Trumpeter Patriots, even though even the policies themselves weren't, far right or whatever. It went in that direction. So it's interesting that it's become this thing where if Clive does it with his money and backs it, it's almost like, oh, he's like a Trump. He's trying to interfere in things, and we don't want people like this in Australia. We don't want the rich people getting involved. We don't want these. And in a way, what Senator Babbitt says is true about the fact that we don't have people with a lot of money on the Conservative side who are willing to personally put their faces out there and back things. And that's one of the things that we're lacking, and that's why what about what we do? A lot of the independent media, there's no one backing people like us. But if you go to America, Joel, you'd know this. Look at all the billionaires and millionaires backing all the conservative.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. You
media.
look at this and you go, you've got someone here who's willing to spend so much money for nothing, when you could spend a hundredth of the money and achieve something. And it makes me question, what's the motive here? Or is this just naivety to act like there's some big, long chess game move here is nonsense. Like, there's nothing come out of this. Nothing has come out of this. There's no way no conversation has shifted. If anything, there was a net negative from the whole, from that day that Trumpeter Patriots announced that they had this big announcement, amazing, and everybody tuned in thinking there's going to be like this fantastic merger with like well-funded or whatever, and it just turned out to be another party that looked exactly the same as United Australian Party, even though they're different, with the billboards everywhere the same, and achieving even less than they got last time. Like literally achieved less. And it's not your fault.
Can I
Like,
just
and
say,
I
look,
also think Clive, yes, I think he's a patriot. But being a rich patriot doesn't mean your actions are right. And his actions are totally wrong. Totally. And you cannot convince me otherwise. All the nonsense about being hacked, lies. Nobody believes that. And the fact that they're doubling down on that is that makes people laugh. Like, just be honest with what you're doing. I agree you love this country, and it's okay, and it's good to be rich. I support being rich too, but be honest about what you're doing. Anyways,
Anyways,
listen.
look, guys,
You berated
all
us. Your turn.
guys, you know what's crazy? All of this is actually redundant because now Clive's been sidelined by the bill that was passed before the end of the parliament.
He's done next time. There's no
And
playing this game yet.
literally, and on top of that, and by the way, we're not sitting here and we're not blaming Clive Palmer for the result.
We're blaming Babette.
Exactly.
We're blaming
The Liberals,
Babette in the comments.
the Liberals did this themselves.
Yep,
But in
100%.
this moment of introspection, we all must introspect and think about how could Joel's Turning Point projects be better? How could Avi's content be better? How could Rukshan's be better? We all must do this process
Avi
in
could not
ourselves.
possibly be better. He's the best.
No, yeah, look. And on top of that, we've also got to look at these parties and what they could be doing better. And I guess that's the position we're coming from.
How did we get onto attacking Babette? Did Rukshan set that up? I think Rukshan just unleashed me.
I set him up. I'm in trouble next week.